Guys, good morning. It's Friday morning as I'm recording this new video for my YouTube channel. If you've already subscribed, thank you so much and welcome back. However, if you're first time here on my channel, welcome. My name is Pam, and basically I'm just making videos here on my channel that talk about different obstacles, different reverse culture shocks I've encountered after moving back to Ireland nearly 1 year ago, after living in the USA for nearly 6 years. So if you're interested in this type of content, subscribe, stick around because this is what I'm talking about. And if you looked at my last video, I talked about the anecdotal side to my reverse culture shocks. So I gave you my anecdotes, I gave you my thoughts. But today I have something a little bit different planned. We're going to be doing more of an analysis of the two different cultures. So you had my anecdotal version last week, and then today we have more of the cultural analysis. So this is one of my favorite tools to do cultural analysis, cultural cross comparisons. It is the country comparison tool from the culturefactor.com. I used this tool so much when I was in university, when I was doing intercultural studies. I've also used it for my business English classes when we're talking about different business cultures and how to approach them. It really is, in my opinion, the most comprehensive, most analytical tool out there. That's free as well. That's a big plus for me. It's free. So what we have planned today is we're going to select Ireland and the US, and we're going to focus at these two parts of culture. So first is individualism, and the second here is motivation towards achievement and success. But let's just go through them first and just see what they mean so we have a good grounding idea before we start the cultural comparison. So here with individualism, you have the two opposites. You have an individualist culture and you have a collectivist culture. In individualist cultures, you usually live through the lens of yourself. So it's personal success, personal freedom. But in the collectivist societies, it's a success as a group that matters more. It's the group harmony. It's more of a conformity. So that would be interesting to compare between Ireland and the USA. And then our second for today is motivation towards achievement and success. And so this is a really interesting cultural component here because if a country has a high score in this criteria, it usually means it's a bit more competitive. You know, showing off your success is quite important. It's a part of your social status. So let's put in our two countries here. So let's start with Ireland. So Ireland is an orange. United States is in grey. Okay, so let's remember Ireland is in orange and United States is in grey. So let's start with individualism. Now, as you can see here, the two cultures are actually very, very similar. There's only a 2-point difference between them both, with the United States being slightly more individualist. I am surprised because one of my big culture shocks when I moved to the US is that it was a very individualist society. There wasn't really much community or community help. However, I'm originally from a rural part of Ireland, so even in Ireland, I think we do have a rural-urban divide. So that also, they could be just taking into consideration more the urban side of Ireland as well. But still, this is really, really interesting. And one of the things I love the most about this tool is they actually do a small overview of each, and they give you some information relevant to that country's society. So I'm going to go through Ireland and the US, and then I'm going to give you my analysis, what I think of these. So with Ireland at 58, Ireland has a relatively individualist culture. In business, employees are expected to be self-reliant and show initiative, and hiring and promotion are based on merit and what a person has done or can do. This individualism is balanced by famously strong family ties and a close sense of local community. This is actually very interesting because when I saw that score of 58, I was actually shocked. I thought it was too high, but I do agree with this analysis here. I especially agree with this last sentence here because they do acknowledge the social collectivism of Ireland. It is socially a very collectivist society. Everybody knows your business. Everybody's very friendly with each other. So I don't know if I agree with the score. I would probably put the score a little lower, maybe in the low 50s, high 40s, but I agree with this analysis here altogether as well. United States here at 60. A score of 60 indicates that the US is an individualistic culture. The society is loosely knit in which the expectation is that people look after themselves and should not rely on authorities for support. There is also a high degree of geographical mobility in the United States. Americans are the best joiners in the world. However, it is often difficult to develop deep friendships. Now, I'm going to stop here because for me, this is a huge, huge point. Americans are the best joiners in the world. I could be wrong, but what I interpret that as, Americans want to join in with everything. They're willing to try out new things. I think that's true to a certain extent, but I have also seen some ignorance as well with international things in the USA. So I'm a little bit 50-50 on that. If that's the correct interpretation, I could be wrong as well. However, it is often difficult to develop deep friendships. That is 100% correct. 100% correct. I have tried in my 6 years, and most of my friends I made in the US were also international as well. I do have two strong American friends, but even then, if you compare them to my non-American friends, the friendship isn't as strong, but we still have the respect. So this is 100% correct. And it's just because, it's not that they don't care about you. It's just you're not in their mind all the time. They're not going to reach out just to ask, how are you? But if you tell them, hey, I need something, they're there for you as well. So it is a genuine friendship. It just looks different. Americans are accustomed to doing business or interacting with people they don't know well. I think that's changing. Consequently, Americans are not shy about approaching their prospective counterparts to obtain or seek information. That's true. If you're working in an American work culture, they can be quite direct, but also they can be passive aggressive as well. It works both ways, just in my experience. In the business world, employees are expected to be self-reliant and display initiative. Also, within the exchange-based world of work, we see that hiring, promotion, and decisions are based on merit or evidence, or what one has done or can do. This is partially true. It depends on the company, but in a lot of companies, it's not true, unfortunately. It is noteworthy that American culture is the melting pot of different cultures, with Caucasians scoring slightly more individualistic than other ethnic groups. This is a really big point here. So if this was 5 years ago, I would 100% agree with this statement. However, the melting pot is dissolving. It's been dissolving since the second Trump administration, in my opinion. People are becoming more individualistic. They're trusting each other less and less, for good reason, unfortunately, as well. Caucasians, white people scoring slightly more individualistic. I think that's an understatement, to be honest. But it is true. It is ultimately true. So overall, I agree with both of these cultural analyses. I just don't agree on just the 2-point gap. That's the only thing I don't agree with, but everything else, like the actual analysis and the overview, in my opinion, is correct. In the US, it's a little bit outdated. Some of it is a wee bit outdated, but I think they just have to update it with the second Trump administration, and then it'll be perfect. So the second cultural component I'm going to look at here is motivation towards achievement and success. So here, Ireland scores more than the USA, and I think if I have any American viewers, they're going to be shocked. But I will say here, Ireland, we like our success, but we're humble about it, and that's one of the things I really, really missed. So I was raised to believe, be successful, but don't think you're better than anybody else. And I think that's where a lot of Americans can kind of not really interpret that as success, because we're not like advertising it all the time. But we are. We are a successful society. But let's just delve a little bit deeper into the overview here. So at 68, Ireland is an achievement-oriented, high MAS culture, decisive in behavioural terms. So it just means that we like our achievement, and like when we think about our behaviour, we think, am I going to achieve something good before you do a behaviour, basically. I think that's what it means. Behaviour in school, work and play rests on striving to be the best, and the Irish take pride in their successes, which feed into hiring and promotion. This is very true. My secondary school experience was honestly crazy. The competition there was crazy. It was so crazy, and people were so competitive with each other that when I moved to the USA for university, it was a nice break for me. That's how crazy it could get in Ireland with competitiveness. This competitive drive, visible in the country's business ambition and its passion for sport, is nonetheless carried lightly, tempered by an easygoing sociability. Yes, this is very correct. We are a competitive society, but how I was raised was to be in competition with myself, not with others. And it's, the easygoing sociability, that's the humility. So very good, I like this. Conflicts are resolved at the individual level with the goal of winning. I think with some people, yes, but I think some people have too big egos for this as well. Like, it really depends on the people's maturity level and the ego as well. But overall, this is really, really accurate. We are a competitive society. We do like to achieve, we do like to set goals, and we like to achieve them, but it's not our entire personality either. As we say, we still have this humility, we still know who we are. And if anything, we actually have something called tall poppy syndrome, which I'm going to discuss in another video, because it intertwines very interestingly with this competitive culture. So let's just move on to the US here before I wrap up the video. The US scores high on motivation for achievement and success, 62, an achievement-oriented culture as its typical American behavioral patterns show. This can be explained by the combination with individualism. Americans show their drive to achieve individually and upfront. Yes, there definitely is a connection with individualism there. Yes. And that was one of the reasons why I was really happy to go to university in the US, because I had known that it's best to be competitive with myself, not with the class, not with anybody else, but within myself. So I actually really liked this combination. It did really work for me. Oh, excuse me, I've got bad hay fever today. This American combination reflects itself in the following. Behavior in school, work, and play are based on the shared values that people should strive to be the best they can be, and that the winner takes all. As a result, Americans will tend to display and talk freely about their successes and achievements in life. Being successful per se is not a great motivator in American society, but being able to show one's success. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I actually have a really good point about this, because I said earlier that I like the individualism with the competitiveness. That's my favorite. I don't like the materialism. I don't like showing it off. So I like saying within myself that, do you know what? I've done the best I can, that's good enough for me. I have this achievement to show for it. I'm really proud of it, but I don't want to show it off either. But yes, this is really, really, really important. That's a really, really good point. And this is actually true as well. And this is actually something I do miss about American culture, that widespread belief that you can keep going, you can keep achieving. That's something I do really miss because as I said earlier, there is a tall poppy syndrome here in Ireland. So that's one thing I do miss. It's like that you can do it, you can keep going, you can be the best version of yourself possible. Now there's a balance as well. We don't want to go into toxic positivity, but that's something I do miss. Many American assessment systems are based on precise target setting, through which American employees can demonstrate how well they did their jobs, KPIs. Typically, Americans live to work so that they can obtain monetary rewards and, as a consequence, attain higher status based on how good one can be, 100%. Many white-collar workers will move to a more fancy neighborhood after each and every substantial promotion. I've seen this in the legal industry, it's correct. It is believed that a certain degree of conflict will bring out the best in people, as it is the goal to be the winner. This is true. Personally, I don't agree with it on how to live my life. The conflict is always with myself, but as a cultural analysis, it is very accurate. Very, very accurate. Well, I've just gone over, I'm reaching the 17-minute mark actually, which I didn't expect, so I'm going to leave it there. If you like this type of cultural analysis, let me know. If you have a particular country you want me to look at, just leave a comment below with the country's flag emojis as well. I think that's a really fun and colourful way to express what countries you want me to look at. And if you made it to the end of this video and you were listening to my blabbering, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. I hope you have a lovely weekend and I'll see you next week. Take care.